Bow, shoot. Badman, scream. It's good. A story as old as time. That's the word for word story my mom always tucked me into bed with every night until I reached maturity at the age of 26. I'm sure you've all heard it many times yourselves. I've beaten Ghost with a focus on stealth, a focus on honorable sword combat, and heck, even a leaping attacks only run. But how about I make the story come true, bring these comments to fruition, and reject all other forms of combat that don't involve the glorious bow? That includes being a stealth archer. I am not allowed to kill any enemy that isn't aware of me, as we already had a stealth run. Bow good, but Jen foolish and refuses to bring bow into duels. Instead of ignoring duels completely, I'm going to make it so I have to be as nimble as an archer, taking away my ability to block in all the duels, nor am I allowed to improve my blade. To keep things as interesting as possible, I won't be doing a New Game Plus run, but we're going to ignore the tutorial section as it lacks a bow and would have been skippable if I'd done New Game Plus. Now let's fly like an arrow right into the heart of this challenge as I strive to beat all of Ghost with only the bow on lethal difficulty. The first step to a bow-only challenge is, of course, to acquire a bow. Crazy, I know. To do so, I need to help Sensei Insufferable track down his wayward apprentice, Tomoe. He realizes that if he doesn't give me a bow right away, this fort takedown isn't going to go so well, since I can't lift a finger to help him. What he fails to account for is that even with the bow, there's nothing stopping me from getting shot seconds into the fight. Never underestimate my incompetence level, old man. Unfortunately, I failed the first rule of elementary school, which is to bring enough supplies to share for everyone. In this case, arrows to the head, meaning old Teach has to handle everything for me while I scrounge around for more. Not sure why Sensei had to give me a quiver that only holds 8 shots, when he's over there with an infinity quiver that never runs out. It might be because I call him Sensei Insufferable, which he's not fond of. Or maybe I call him that because he refuses to give me a better quiver. Using a vendor to refill on arrows, I join up with Yuna so I can do the tutorial Unskippable Assassination, where I realize the Mongol I'm stabbing is clearly a ghost as he keeps phasing out of reality, which means he's already dead. Ergo, I did not kill him, so we're still good. I, on the other hand, am very much alive when sliced up a moment later, so I hope that Mongol feels terrible guilt. Either that, or an arrow to the abdomen, whichever works. After enjoying a nice spa day in order to get over being stabbed, I treat myself to a bow upgrade, buy more pointy sticks, and head to the nearest Mongol encampment with a plan. It does not go well. Doesn't help that I run out of arrows mid-fight, but thankfully this camp has 2 ammo refill spots so I can have just enough to win the battle. In fact, that's why I came here. With this camp cleared, I can now pop back in between missions, as every time I quick travel to any cleared camp, the ammo refills will be refilled, meaning I no longer need to rely on vendors. What doesn't change is that 8 arrows is 8 arrows, meaning while still mid-mission, I'm often in a pickle and am forced into desperate scavenger mode. At least it makes me much more paranoid about never missing my shots. Not that it stops me from missing, but hey, now we can add increased paranoia to my list of issues. I continue to work with Sensei because I'm secretly in love with him, and I use rudeness to hide my affection. Nah, that's not the real reason. Unless... No, it's not. The real reason is that he provides charms that deal in archery, and I've also made it my mini goal to complete every mission he provides in order to prove myself as the greatest archer. You might argue, how can I be the greatest if I miss so much and keep getting shot? But I counter with the simple fact, if I kill every other archer in the land, I, by default, will be the greatest. Foolproof. My tiny quiver really proves itself to be a problem when I help Lady Masako in avenging her murdered family. I think there might be more than 8 guys here, and I failed to come prepared with any arrows at all. Checking all over, including under the floorboards, I can't find me a single arrow. So time to play the waiting game and hope Masako's rage is enough to make up for me failing to assist her. I'm here as medic in case she fails, which she does, twice, but nothing a sneaky rat can't heal. It may have taken 14 minutes of running around uselessly, and a couple deaths, but in the end she slaughters all the bandits, so it all works out. Only for me to be mauled by a bear almost immediately after. That full death experience really made me take a second, do some introspection, and realize what matters in life. It's not family or friends, but material goods that really matter. So it's time to go raiding, attacking every Mongol camp I can find, and gathering enough pelts to improve my quiver size and also improve my bow's strength. It's still not quite enough to stop a charging swordsman from slicing me in two, but hopefully his wound will get infected and he'll die weeks later. That will teach him to kill me before I can finish him off. After being taught a valuable lesson on why using a bow in close quarters might not be the best move, I go on a little date. I just met her, and she wants to watch the beauty of the waves with me. So that sounds lovely. Oh wait, nope, she's trying to kill me. You know, after you're forced to kill in self-defense for the 7th date in a row, you really start to question whether you're the problem. That was the 6th date, so I wasn't worried yet. But 5 minutes later, when my next date also came rushing at me with a sword, I started to second guess things. Perhaps having 2 dates 5 minutes apart might be part of the problem. I will say, getting killed 17 times in a row by the same lady because I'm not fast enough to dodge her back-to-back strikes does create sort of a bond. It might be the massive blood loss talking, but she looks so beautiful in this light, wouldn't you say? When I learn to roll out of her strike range and then retaliate with slamming strikes of love whenever she walks back into range, the duel ends and she calls an end to our date. It turns out she confused me for someone else, which really dampens the mood. You think getting murdered by somebody on repeat would craft an unbreakable bond. But no, I wasn't even the right guy. At least the Mongols have the decency to know who I am when they slay me. I'll just have to dig up her long-dead ancestor's armor and wear it as a reminder of what could have been. That pain gives me the strength to fire faster, and frankly, her ancestor had real style. What do you do after heartbreak? Other than the obvious of stealing the belongings of your date's dead family, I mean. I prefer to duel my demons in an epic sword fight as a great coping mechanism. I highly suggest it. I'm almost able to conquer it on my first try, but my inner suffering is a tricky little guy and knows how to cheat. The roll away and slice method has a lot of value to it, but I'm often caught off guard since I actively throw my guard away in my aggression. As the struggle continues, I find myself falling faster and faster as the demon takes advantage of my inability to create enough distance between us whenever he counterattacks. Goes to show that you can only stay ahead of your demons for so long. Unless you have a sharp sword yourself, then it's the demon who should be running. It's my demon, so it's just like me and refuses to quit. But if I can tap into my inner resolve, pick myself up, and stay just ahead of the demon, I can take him down. As he fell, I fell, and I wasn't sure I felt any better. Till I saw that I got a cool new longbow, which reminded me that once again, only material goods could make this loot rat feel any better. Who needs love when you have multiple killer bows after all? Remembering there's an island that needs its hero, I set out with Yuna to save hostages. Using concentration, I can take out groups of Mongols before they even pose a tiny threat, and you know what? We just can't have that. While not an official rule of this challenge, since I didn't do it from the start, I decide to impose a new rule on myself and refuse to slow down time for the rest of the game so the Mongols have a better chance. I don't want to break the Mongols' spirits, or they might stop fighting, and where's the fun in that? That doesn't mean I can't pull out handy-dandy explosive arrows to protect the hostages, though. I'm going to need every arrow possible to hold back the waves of Mongols, and then some. When Yuna falls while I'm trying to avoid Fido's bite, and keep the hostages alive, I start to worry. But endless rolling and running with a quick arrow here and there allows me to save everyone just in time. Only to not have enough arrows to kill their leader, which Yuna can't finish off herself. So it's time to abandon everyone as I search the nearby town for arrows, grab a single one, and then make it back just as Yuna falls yet again. I drop the weakened leader with my single shot, pick Yuna up, and let her do the honors of finishing the final enemy, mainly because I had no choice without any arrows. Now I gotta help Ryuzo save his men from captivity. The thing is, I can't help but feel that something has come in between my old friend and I, and that no matter what, I can't see eye to eye with him anymore. Something may have butt in between us, but I'm not going to let that stop me from saving my old friend's men. Fire arrows and explosive arrows are the gift that never stops giving, making light work of the Mongol captors and easily saving the Straw Hat mercenaries. From there, I clear out the rest of the Mongol camps across the territory in order to improve my longbow even further, and then it's time to break into the castle defenses and rescue Jin's uncle. I'm pretty powerful by now, and accompanied by my allies means the Mongol defense is nothing to worry about. Ryuzo, on the other hand, is a very big worry. I thought we were friends, but I guess saving both him and all his men's lives repeatedly doesn't mean much when the Khan offers him a party-sized bag of Cool Ranch Doritos in exchange for his service. Which honestly, fair! I can't blame him for that. I'm still going to fault him stealing my chance at victory away from me on my first attempt. I would have had him for sure, if my blades were upgraded. But ifs do a dying rat no good. I've gotten really good at getting him near to death, but it's particularly hard to avoid his long strike combo, which is painfully funny in a way since it's usually my favorite move for him to use since it's easy to block and parry. A nice little chuckle at the irony of that as I collapse in my own blood for the 30th time. If I can roll out of the strikes and keep my distance long enough, then the duel is doable, and I can ensure that Ryuzo never gets a single savory bite of those chips. With him fleeing in hunger and fear, I take out his backup with ease, but here's where everything goes wrong. Killing everyone in the castle and freeing my uncle leaves me with no arrows yet again, meaning it's up to my uncle to carry us to freedom. I've been in this situation before, and it is not one I'm happy to be back in. My uncle is a formidable fighter when he's beating me to death, but put him up against enemy invaders and he loves to take his time dealing with them. He's in no rush to get out of the way of grenades either, and I have to do a lot of running back and forth in order to keep the old man swinging. I really like to cut it close, sometimes too close. But in the end, my medical aid allows him to eliminate the Mongols and bring us victory. As I munched on some Doritos I had found discarded on the ground, I stopped by the store for a full resupply of arrows before continuing with my uncle to take down another Mongol fort with ease. Archery's main weakness has been low arrow count, and with Act 1 over, that's far less of a problem, meaning all of Act 2 flies by. Helping Sensei wipe out Tomoe's archery camps is a breeze, and when I save Yarikawa from invasion, I even take the time to rescue all the extra civilians that I could have ignored. I gotta mix in some proper heroism in order to keep everyone guessing. I could have done that without the shotgun blast to the chest personally, but I suppose that's the trade-off. The duel against the general is not a problem when blocking isn't a bright idea normally with his flame sword, so it's almost like fighting as normal, except with a weaker blade. As for helping my uncle take back a huge fort and escort our messenger ship to safety, this is the first challenge in a while where I have no problem using this artillery. It's basically one giant bow after all, so I'm more than good with accepting it as part of the challenge. Funny enough, the most trouble I experience in Act 2 is when I take a detour to help some foxes get revenge on poachers. My rage at such an atrocity probably clouds my already less than stellar judgment, and I find myself downed over and over. There's also quite a bit of enemies, and I have to constantly stay on the move, which means in my haste I'm being a tad less careful with my shots, which only does me a disservice. Enough fire and explosions though, and the poachers are beaten, bringing peace to the remaining adorable foxes. I then make my way for a relaxing stay at the Straw Hat Camp. They ensure I get a good night's sleep with the most effective tactic they know, and they also make sure I have wonderful company by tying up my friend Taka with me. Such considerate host. I pay them back with an arrow to the head for nearly every one of them, something that's quite easy to do as they don't wear armor or rush to reach me. Storming my uncle's massive castle is never a problem with so many allies helping me out, and when I sneak past the Mongol defense, it's not too difficult to get the attention of each Mongol so they're fully aware of me a moment before I put an arrow in them. Then Jen can poison all of them and have a second face-off with Ryuzo. Apparently, he somehow heard about me eating those Doritos he felt that he deserved, and that enraged him enough that he was too distracted to give his best. I know to roll out of reach of his attacks, and most of his hits are telegraphed enough that I can dodge with ease, losing only once to the hungry traitor before putting him down. Unfortunately, my uncle isn't too pleased that I refuse to share the chips with him as well, and he has me imprisoned for this travesty. Listen, I know they're party-sized, but I'm the life of the party, so I think by all rights, they belong to me. Problem is, I've only been eating bags of Doritos and nothing else for about 2 weeks now, and I think it's catching up to me. Who could have guessed a Cool Ranch Doritos only diet would backfire? Not me, that's for sure. Thankfully, Yuna is able to nurse me back to health. In order to get back into shape after that fiasco, I do heavy exercises like climbing mountains, shooting Mongols, long horseback rides, shooting more Mongols, and most importantly, did I mention shooting Mongols? Their armor is better than ever, which does make a big problem for me, especially since I keep running out of arrows. But if I resupply from their own camps while I clear them out, and use heaps of explosives and fire, no matter how big the problem, it can be blown away. As for helping Sensei finish his trouble with Tomoe, there's no trouble when Tomoe switches back to our side, now that we've hurt her relations with the Khan so much with our constant attacks. I do get a little worried when we're meant to ambush more Mongols, but it's still simple to get their attention before killing them all, so I can avoid any stealth kills. Tomoe sails off with the guilt of her actions to haunt her forever, and I get her broken mask as a keepsake of all the time I've had to spend with the sensei. And you know what? After spending so long with this angry man, I realize he's not so bad. No, wait, that's a lie. I still dislike him quite a bit, but I was hoping for a fairy tale ending. Oh well. I take the fight to the Mongols' last line of defense, and with my allies at my side, I plow right through them. At first, I'm cautious about opening fire, so I won't run out again. But to my delight, the area is full of infinite arrow resupply points, meaning I can pierce skulls to my heart's content. Every little rat's dream come true. But coming up against the Khan in a duel, the pain begins to mount quickly. It's only 20 minutes of fighting, but it feels like so much more as he cuts me down over and over. Half of his moves that he spams, you can't block normally anyway, but it doesn't change that they allow him to magnetically track me across this rather small arena, which he loves to follow up with rapid attacks that easily bring me down. In the end, the way to beat his aggression is with my beloved hit and run tactic, as I bait him into attacking, strike, and then flee rapidly so we can repeat the process until the Khan is finished. Of course, he then cheats and chucks Dorito dust into my face, with the unexpected delicious sensation overwhelming me and costing me my life to his soldiers. I can't heal out of this since I have no resolve left or any other way to heal, but avoiding my attackers long enough, I'm lucky to discover that I can wait out the Doritos and let my system return to normal. Having overcome my Dorito demon, it's not even a little bit of a problem to defeat the Khan, I have to be careful not to waste my shots, and I do manage to get blown up twice. But overall, shooting the slow-moving con in the head repeatedly is a nice form of therapy. I do have to land 4 strikes from my blade to finish him off, which is no fun, but it's my bow that really did all the work. With the con dead, I go to visit my uncle for one final standoff. Right before reaching him though, I stumble upon a group of Mongols with a hostage, and I get to let loose the last of my arrows to wipe them out. I'm quite surprised when the hostage still can't be freed, and looking around, I discover a single horseman is completely unaware of me, as he seems to be lost to the shrubs. I'm tempted to leave him there, but I decide to do one last act of good by saving the poor hostage, even though he definitely could run away no problem. So I use my flame arrow to encourage his horse to move, bringing my Mongol friend back to reality, and then I use my very last arrows to set him aflame. With that done, I set my bow aside and go to duel my uncle in order to finish this game. For 10 minutes, he kicks my butt with his speed, but like every other fight, the solution is to constantly roll away and then counterattack as he comes back into range. It may take a little to get it right, and I'm really wishing I had a better sword as opposed to this butter knife, but it is doable, and my uncle can watch in awe as I walk away as the greatest archer in the land. Huzzah! After 61 deaths, plus 115 more deaths in duels, for a total of 176 deaths over 18 hours, 9 minutes, I've beaten most of Ghost with only the bow. There's the usual tutorials, of course, and those darn forced con strikes, plus the duels, but in most cases, the bow will more than suffice. It's truly a powerhouse of a weapon, long as you have the arrows for it, that is. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you enjoyed. I'm off to spend the rest of my days learning how to play the flute, despite a mask covering my face. Well, that, and wait for my invite as Green Arrow's next sidekick. It should come any day now, I'm sure of it. I hope you have a wondrous day, and may your aim be ever true. Bye for now, friends.